Hi guys, welcome back to another new thriller release video. These are 15 thrillers that are coming out in early 2025. We have a lot of January releases, but some others in the months following that I am particularly excited for. So let's go and hop in. I am really excited about these thrillers. I already have a bunch of them on hold at my library, or like future hold at my library, and I'm hoping to get my hands on most of them this year. The first one has the most beautiful cover. It was very ominous, and I love the orange and blue contrast with the colors. Amazing. This one's called Tell Me What You Did, a novel by Carter Wilson, and it's coming out on January 28th, 2025. The premise for this, it's golden. It's golden. I'm so excited for it. So basically our main character in this is named Poe Webb, and she is, can't even say that with a straight face. She is a true crime podcaster, and she has a very interesting concept. She basically invites people to anonymously confess to crimes they've committed. So they get fame on the internet while being anonymous. And she can't guarantee the police won't try to use this against them or try to hunt them down, but a lot of people are very enticed at the notion of their crime and their brilliance, you know, being praised or whatever. Well, this formula has worked for her until someone comes onto the show anonymously claiming to have been her mother's murderer many years ago. But Poe knows something that no one else does, and that's that her mother's murderer is dead because Poe killed him. So who is this person claiming to have killed the murderer? Did she kill the wrong person? I don't know, but I really want to know. And this one, I love a podcast element. I don't know if there's actually going to be like a mixed media. I'm hoping there'll be some mixed media in there from the podcast, but just the podcast element alone is such an interesting one for me. So this one's coming out in early summer, actually June, and this is a repeat author for me. It's Sian Gilbert. I really loved her debut, and this one is called I Did Warn Her by Sian Gilbert. It's coming out on June 17th, 2025, and it's a cunning locked room mystery set on a billionaire's yacht with a gorgeous crew with secrets and rivalry. So this is a billionaire's yacht. It's called the Ophelia, and I love an isolation trope in a thriller or mystery. Doesn't matter what kind. I love it, and a cruise ship is a perfect setting. So it feels like we might have some multiple points of views possibly, but one of our characters is Sasha. She's model gorgeous, tall and blonde, and she has been enticed along with other stewardess to be on this cruise ship as staff. And they all kind of look the same and all come from different, maybe not so desirable backgrounds or jobs, and we're really lured in with the high wages. So that's kind of interesting. So that's weird. And then on the ship, guests' jewelry starts to disappear. So there seems to be some kind of jewel thief. And then a murder happens, and they're all wondering, who is the jewel thief? The crew's turning on each other. Who is the murderer? What is happening? What are the secrets of this billionaire? I'm so excited for this. I love the drama. I love the cruise ship setting, and it's coming out in summer, which is going to be amazing. For a chilly winter thriller, this one is called A Killer Cold by Kate Alice Marshall. It's coming out on February 4th, 2025. And this is one that should have been a whirlwind romance, possibly. And this one, the premise, so many tropes I love. So our main character is Theodora, and she has basically met this man who is ultra wealthy, handsome, you know, he's charming, and he is a member of the powerful Dalton family. But Connor's family is a little skeptical about her, I'm assuming because maybe she doesn't run in the same circles or whatever. But he decides to, you know, propose to her anyways and to take her to Idlewood, which is this beautiful winter retreat that's very isolated. Isolation trope. And she decides to go, but she's getting these threatening messages on her phone, and she keeps trying to ignore them, but she just gets more and more uneasy, especially when she sees footprints in the snow outside of her cabin window. I would be running, screaming away from this place. She discovers that this family is hiding some big secrets because she comes across a picture of herself at Idlewood as a child, and she has no memory of this. Now, it sounds like she doesn't have a lot of knowledge about maybe her like young childhood. I'm not sure why, but she doesn't know much about this, and so she starts to dig into this and try to find out why. But someone here at Idlewood has a shocking secret, and Theo is in grave danger. I can't wait for this. It's gonna be good. So coming out on January 14th, 2025, we have Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. This is a book kind of centering around an author and a journalist, and this book has actually been early released by Book of the Month, so I know some of you might have read this, but it is coming out in January. For those of you that haven't, I actually have read it and really liked it, so I recommend checking it out. But basically our main character is Grady. He is an author and his wife is a journalist, and one night he's calling her with exciting news when she stops her car, gets out of the car, like, and you can hear this on the phone, only to never be seen from again. And a year later, his life is just in shambles, his career is in shambles, he's grieving, his health, like everything is a disaster as you would expect. And he travels to the small remote Scottish island to try to write his next book and to just find some level of peace. But then he sees a woman who looks exactly like his missing wife. We're gonna leave it at that. I'm really excited. Alice Feeney is usually an instant love author for me for the most part, so I'm really excited. By Megan Collins, we have Cross My Heart, and this one is also coming out on January 14th, 2025. This is described as, she has his wife's heart, the one she wants is his. This sounds like a domestic thriller. Our main character is Rosie, and she, a year ago, was dumped at the altar by her fiance, and she's currently working in her parents' bridal shop, and her heart just can't take much more of it, and unfortunately she's also in need of a heart transplant, so she undergoes the surgery and then later connects with the donor's family through this like online platform, it sounds like, including the husband of the wife who donated the heart after the wife passed away. And she is convinced that now that she has the wife's heart literally like in her, maybe her and the husband are like meant to be. But the closer she gets to him, the more red flags start to pop up and the more she's concerned that he might have actually had something to do with his wife's death. What an interesting concept. Like, really intense. I didn't expect, when I read the little blurb about the heart, I didn't expect that to be so literal, but I'm really intrigued by this one. Coming out in March, we have The Last Days of Kira Mullan by Nicci French, and this one is a chilling new psychological thriller about a woman determined to get justice for a murder no one else believes happened. So our main character in this is Nancy North, and she has recently gone through some really difficult times with her mental health. She and her partner Felix have up and moved to a new flat for a fresh start. She's taking her pills, she's going to therapy, however she starts to hear voices again. And then a downstairs neighbor, Kira, is found dead. And the police quickly rule this as a suicide, however, she's not convinced. She really thinks that this was a murder, that foul play was involved. And then at the same time, we're also, I think, going to be reading from one of the detective inspector's perspectives. It sounds like she is not convinced either that this was a suicide, and that she's convinced the boys club at the top of like the police department has been putting this murder case under wraps for a reason and making it look like it wasn't a murder, so she starts to get involved with it too. So I think this one sounds really interesting. It sounds like it'll have 2 points of views at least, and I do like the concept of, can you trust your own instincts even when you're going through tough times? I'm really curious to see how that's going to play out with this. Coming out on May 6th, we have The Ones We Love by Anna Snoekstra, and this is described as, can they survive what's behind the padlocked door? So I'm not sure if this will be multiple points of views, but the description makes me think it could be because it's kind of talking from different angles. So this involves a family of 4, and we have our main character Liv, who is in, or kind of a central character, Liv, I should say, who's in her early 20s, and basically this party happened one weekend at her parents' home. She woke up in bruises, has no memory of what happened, and ever since then her parents have been acting strange, and there's a padlocked door. That immediately intrigues me. And her best friend won't respond to her messages, so she's wondering, was she really out of control that night? Simultaneously, her father is really worried about the family's stability, and he's really trying to launch his career. He's feeling like all this pressure on him. Then we have the wife who says she's given up everything basically to have her 2 kids. She'll do anything to protect them, but her marriage is a different story, and she's also suspicious of the neighbor. And then last we have Casper, who is the youngest, and he was away that weekend, but he's noticing all the suspicious behavior from his parents who won't look each other in the eye. His sister's disappearing in the middle of the night, and he's going to get to the bottom of what's behind the padlocked door. So I think this sounds like a really interesting domestic thriller with this like weird family. I'm like, I don't know what's behind the padlocked door. I'm kind of terrified, but I'm very interested. Next we have a debut. This is called The Business Trip, and it's coming out on January 14th, and it's by Jessie Garcia. And this is very interesting. So it takes place on a plane. So we have 2 women that we're following. We have Stephanie and Jasmine, and they don't know each other. They're two business women. One is flying as like a business trip, and then one is fleeing some kind of abusive relationship, it sounds like. They meet up on the plane and they start to send texts to like loved ones about the same man, Trent. And then they're both declared missing, and their families discover that they have this connection with the strange messages from Trent. And so it's the question of who is Trent and what did he do to these women? Where are they? Did they disappear of their own accord? What is happening? So I am very curious about this one, and I love to try debuts out. By Toni Halleen, we have The Good Samaritan, and this is coming out on March 4th. And this involves a college professor who is offered a chance at redemption in this thoughtful psychological thriller. So our main character, Matthew Larkin, is a sociology professor, and he has recently just lost everything. Like, he's lost, like, I think part of his job, he's divorced his wife, his teenage daughter has like abandoned him, won't speak to him. He's just at a very low point in his life. And one night he is driving on this road, a hailstorm happens, he pulls over and he finds this young boy he sees like in the headlights. This young boy is hiding under like a plastic tarp, and he's possibly hypothermic. He's barely clinging to life. So Matthew puts him in his car to rush him to like the hospital because he knows he can't wait for an ambulance to come out, because I feel like they're kind of in a remote area, so he's just trying to get him to the hospital as fast as possible. However, when the boy starts to speak, he begs Matthew to not take him to the hospital and not to report anything to the police. And Matthew has to make a very interesting decision. I don't know where this is going, but I just found it to be very ominous, and I'm kind of curious about the backstory with Matthew. Coming out on January 21st, we have The Inheritance by Trisha Sakhlecha, and this is described as most family reunions end in tears. This one will end in murder. So essentially there is this family that's coming together for a family reunion on this private luxury island, and Raj, who is the patriarch, is about to announce his like retirement plan and like who the business is going to be left to and all of that. His wife is excited because for the first time in many years she's going to have her husband more to herself, because she's made many sacrifices for the business over these years. They haven't had a lot of time together. And then I'm going to read the kids like parts because I cannot keep these straight. I've already tried. So we have Myra, the golden child, owner of the island and host of the reunion, is unbeknownst to her family on the brink of bankruptcy. Then we have Asim, who is the son and supposed heir. He's torn between his love for his wife and his duty to his family. Then we have Aisha, the youngest, who's a party girl, whose antics are legendary, but she can't pass up an opportunity to wreak havoc. And then there's Zoe, who is Asim's wife, who's the son, and the outsider, whose hashtag Insta-perfect life is built on a foundation of lies. They all have secrets they're willing to die to protect, and who ends up murdered. Love family dramas. I love inheritance and like will drama. Not in real life, I think it's absolutely terrible in real life, but in terms of like thrillers, I think it's fascinating. Next we have a very ominous cover. This one's called Into the Fall by Tamara L. Miller, and it's coming out on the 1st of February. And this is a debut author. It's described as a suspenseful psychological thriller in the vast, unforgiving Canadian wilderness. So our main character is Sarah Anderson. She's got it all. She's got a thriving career, a beautiful home, a husband, everything. But while her and her children, her husband, are on this like wildlife trek or like hike in the Canadian wilderness, her husband goes missing. And Sarah barely makes it out of there with her children, and when they report him, she goes on this year-long discovery to try to find her husband with no real luck. But she's got to dig now into her marriage, the secrets she has, and avoid this police officer who's really eyeing her for the crime, potentially. And this one just looks really interesting. I'm curious about what happens to the husband. I want to know the secrets. Love the cover. By Leah Kohen, we have The Last Room on the left, and this one is coming out on January 14th, 2025, which seems to be very popular. And this involves a caretaker at an isolated mountain hotel fighting for her life and sanity. So our main character in this is Carrie, and her life is in shambles. She has a drinking problem. Her husband's left her. She has a drinking problem, and she has this big project, this book that's supposed to be due soon, that's supposed to change her financial position, but she has major writer's block. She can't write a word. So when she sees this position at this like lonely mountain resort in the Catskills for a caretaker position, she takes it up because she figures she can make some money doing that, and she'll have this isolated place to really hunker down and write. However, one night she looks out of her window and she sees a pale arm buried in the snow, and she finds herself left there isolated alone with a dead body. So Carrie's got to keep her head together and make it out before the killer gets her in this deadly game of cat and mouse. Very excited. I also love that this is another snowy, isolated type thriller. You can tell I have a bit of a type. By Lisa Unger, who was a big hit thriller for me this last year. We have Close Your Eyes and Count to 10. This one is coming out on February 25th, 2025. And it's described as an extreme game of hide and seek turns deadly. So this one sounds like some kind of reality TV, social media kind of stunt. Basically there's this island, as you can see on the cover, and this looks like the perfect summer thriller, so I'm really excited. Basically there's this man who is very charismatic. He's a big adventurer. I'm thinking he's like a big social media presence. His name's Maverick, and he invites players to this island for a high-stakes game of hide and seek. But it quickly turns into a survival test when a storm hits at the island and they're all in danger. And then we have Adele, who is this mother who's really hardworking and would do anything for her children, and she's there to win and to make it back home to her kids. And there's like this blurry line between the virtual and the real, and then truth, like kind of this idea that the only person we can trust is ourselves, especially in a situation like this. I'm really excited. I really loved the couple in 5B, which she wrote earlier this year. I loved that. That was my introduction to her, so I am so excited to read more from Lisa Unger in the coming year. By Alafair Burke, we have The Note. This is coming out on January 7th, 2025, and this is described as a vacation in the Hamptons goes terribly wrong for three friends with a complicated history. So our main character in this is May Hanover. She was raised by a first-generation Chinese single mother, and she grew up being a very strict rule follower, very like tight-laced, and very like high-performing, high-achieving. Her friends even called her the little sheriff, and she did have two friends, and she got into some hijinks with them, but nothing too major. A little tragic accident hits, and there's individual scandals, heartbreaks, loss, and a lot of trouble and turmoil the three friends have to make it through. So now these three friends are reuniting for the first time in years at the Hamptons, but a drunken prank with these strangers goes terribly wrong, and suddenly they are in the middle of a police investigation. I love like a good friendship drama thriller, like especially at a vacation locale like this, so I think this will be really fun and interesting. Last but not least, we have one by Ashley Flowers. It's called The Missing Half, and this is coming out on May 6th, 2025, and it's about two women haunted by their sister's unsolved disappearances. I love the premise for this. Our main character is Nicole, who goes by Nick, and she is haunted by the tragedy of her older sister disappearing many years ago. So she is now 24, and she's still in this dead-end job. She's had since high school, and the only reason she's clinging to this job is because a family friend is her boss, and they kind of feel sorry for her. She's recently had a DUI. She's been just... her life is up in shambles. She's really just grieving, having issues functioning. Basically her older sister Casey had disappeared years ago without a trace. Her car was found like 100 miles away from their home, and everything was normal except the door was open and Casey wasn't there. Like her purse was on the seat, there wasn't a sign of a struggle. Everything else was normal, but her sister wasn't there, and they never found her or any sign of her. The only thing that is linking this, or the only clue the police really have, is that this happened to another girl about 2 weeks within the same time frame. So there's two women who disappeared in a very similar way. Well, fast forward to the future, we have Nick. She's in her early 20s, and she is confronted by the sister of the other woman who disappeared, and she presents her with hope for the first time in a very long time, and these two are going to find out what happened to their sisters together. I think this sounds like such a powerful story. I'm really interested in this one. I already have it on hold for my library when we get it in, so I'm so excited. But let me know, which of these sounded the most interesting to you? Did I miss any that are coming out in the beginning of the year that you're super excited for? Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy mystery and thriller content, I hope you'll hit subscribe. I do post about tons of mystery and bookish content on my channel, everything from cozy murder mysteries to thrillers, and lots of cozy reading vlogs. So I hope you hit subscribe. Let me know what books you're most excited about for 2025, and I'll see you guys really soon. Bye!